of La Penta. This is WICR.
Hello, Iona College. It is now 12 o'clock on this beautiful Tuesday morning, and you know what time it is. It's Lights Out Sports Time. I'm your host, Rob Blancardo. Join with me, my co-host, Armand Matteo. And Armand, how you doing today?
Rob, I'm doing pretty good. It's a nice day outside. You know, it's a good day.
Yeah, good weather. And you know what? The baseball season is slowly coming to its end, Armand. And you know, we told you guys last week we're going to be covering a division every week. This week we decided to cover the NL West and AL West playoff preview. And Armand, I said, let's jump straight ahead right now to the NL West. Right now we have the race, the LA Dodgers and the Giants. Dodgers are ahead by 7.5 in the division. Giants probably won't catch up at this point. But I mean, we look at the Dodgers this year. Zach Greinke has been unstoppable, 17-3, ERA under 2. Nobody hits this guy. Clayton Kershaw started off slow. He's been lights out. The last couple months been just pure lights out. I mean, the hitting, we could say once in a while it goes down, it goes up. We've had a couple awkward trades like Chase Utley coming here because of the absence of Howie Kendrick to injury. But this Dodgers team going forward, do you see them as a huge playoff threat?
Well, right now, Rob, they would open up against the New York Mets. They're half a game better than the Mets, so they'll be the second and third seed representing the National League. And I think that right there, I think the Mets could actually beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I think the Dodgers are going to get bounced in the first round. I don't think that their hitting's way too inconsistent. Going into the All-Star break, they rid Jock Peterson's back. And Peterson, ever since the All-Star break's been in a horrible slump. Mm-hmm. And, you know, as you said, Howie Kendrick, the loss of Howie Kendrick's huge for this team. Adrian Gonzalez has been up and down. Yasmani Grandal hasn't been hitting that well recently. The Dodgers are kind of in a funk right now, and the Mets are just skyrocketing. Mm-hmm. So,
and I mean, going into the playoffs, obviously LA with the home advantage, we're saying right now. Are you kind of scared for Clayton Kershaw? Because we've looked the last couple postseasons. Clayton Kershaw last year, NL Cy Young, NL MVP. The guy just can't get it done come the playoff games. Doesn't finish in the big games, and that's what it's all about. You know, I mean, this guy pitches over 200 innings a year, and I don't know if it comes down to if it's nerves come playoff time or if it's just wear and tear come the end of the season for being overthrown too much.
I think it's just matchups, Rob. I don't think against other teams in the NL he's dominant. It's just this one team in St. Louis Cardinals that we know of who always comes back and haunts him when October strikes. And I think that during his start against the Mets, I think he'll be dominant. Mm-hmm. I just think it's the matchups.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we look at if they play the Mets though. The thing I'm kind of worried about. Like you think that the Mets might win because of the Dodgers hitting. I mean, the Mets hitting's been on fire, but me like everybody else, we just want to see what it's going to be like versus postseason pitching because come postseason, it's all about pitching. And I have a funny feeling the Mets have an amazing pitching staff, one of the best I've ever seen since the Atlanta Braves in the 90s. But, I mean, they're going to be giving up 3 runs a game. There's no doubt about that with the Mets. I think the Dodgers will be able to hit off with some of these pitchers. I'm scared, though. If you go and you have to play Greinke and then Kershaw back-to-back, I could see the Mets going down early in a 2-0 series, being down in the series.
I think that's a good point, too. And also, for the Mets side, the pitch limit of Matt Harvey, his status going into the postseason, he's on a 60 pitch count. They said he's going to skip every other star in the playoffs. So this guy is not 100%. So Syndergaard's probably going to be bumped up into that number 2 slot. So he'll be matched up with Greinke and Kershaw. And Greinke and Kershaw are seasoned veterans. They've been around. They've seen the best. They've pitched against the best. Syndergaard, this is the first time Syndergaard made the playoffs. First time DeGrom's made the playoffs. They're both young arms. I do think inexperience is going to come back in these games too, but for some reason the Mets are just on fire, and they remind me of the Kansas City Royals of last year.
And Armand Yoenis Cespedes, we talk about this guy since the trade deadline, 17 home runs with the Mets. And I mean, him in this series versus the Dodgers, you better be walking him all the time because you don't want this guy hitting the ball whatsoever. This guy is tearing it apart. You know, we talk about over the years how Citi Field was always a pitcher's ballpark. This guy is making all Mets players look bad with all the home runs he's blasting. Even away at other games, the guy runs, he gets on base, he's a great outfielder, and he would have a big impact come this series. He's going to have a really big impact.
Absolutely, he'd be the leading bat, and also you have the captain David Wright, who's going to come back, and David Wright should be, up to his normal batting 300 ways in the playoffs. Just helping guide this team to another playoff victory. And honestly, I do like the Mets, Rob.
Me too. I'm kind of siding with New York. I mean, the Dodgers.
The Dodgers are just horrible in the postseason, Rob. They're just horrible.
Oh, I know, and this really tells. This is Mattingly's break it or leave year.
They're like the Cincinnati Bengals of baseball.
But I mean, in other news, now, Armand. Let's shift divisions to the AL West. It's kind of tight right now. Houston Astros, Texas Rangers, the LA Angels. I mean, Astros right now with a half-game lead. I kind of thought this would be the Angels division this year. The Angels really fell off the earth. Jared Weaver he's been injured this year, completely off his game, which has been a real killer. Mike Trout, we've seen the drop in the batting average. I mean, he has blasted 33 home runs. Albert Pujols has blasted over 30 home runs. This team has really fallen out. I don't see them making the playoffs, but we look at this race between the Astros right now. They look like they're dying out at this point.
Oh, absolutely, right.
I mean, they started off so hot this year.
They had the best record in baseball for a while, them and the Cardinals.
Then they slowly fell down. Then we saw them slowly ride up, and now they're falling down. Texas only a half game out. Texas might take the lead at this point.
Absolutely, Rob. And the funny thing about Texas, around the All-Star break, they were around 500. They were bouncing up and down around 500. I mean, Colby Lewis had a near no-hitter about a week ago, and they picked up Cole Hamels. That's the perfect pickup for a team that's trying to make another playoff run. And we've seen the Texas Rangers in the last couple of years. They've been a really hard team to beat in the playoffs. Houston's inexperience is starting to catch up with them, Rob. We're seeing this now. And Texas, Prince Fielder hit a walk-off the other night?
Yeah, he hit a walk-off.
Hit a walk-off the other night, and that just sums up the rest of this month. It's going to be a walk-off for the Texas Rangers.
I'm kind of scared at Sin as a Yankee fan. We look at Texas right now, where they're standing. They would be in the one-game playoff versus the Yankees. And you go to Yankee Stadium, do you really want Cole Hamels on the mound at Yankee Stadium versus the Yankees, especially with the injury to Mark Teixeira and this team? I mean, Cole Hamels might shut them out in that series. I mean, we'll have Masahiro Tanaka pitching, but...
Yeah, but I think the last time Tanaka played Texas, it wasn't a very good result. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure... He got rocked in Yankee Stadium against Texas. And, I just wouldn't want to face players like Fielder and Hamilton with that short porch in Yankee Stadium in right field. I just think that's a disaster waiting to happen.
Oh, it most definitely is. But, yeah, Prince Fielder, and we look at Armand from where he was a couple years ago with Detroit, where his numbers completely dropped. He wasn't the Prince Fielder we saw in Milwaukee, a guy who could blast 40 home runs a year, get over 110 RBIs. I mean, this year he has 19 home runs to go with 77 RBIs, 307 batting average, and it's kind of great to see that from him. But he could be a real killer at Yankee Stadium, especially with a lefty bat.
Absolutely, Rob. I think in this one-game series, the Yankee fans will call him King Fielder.
Even Shin-Soo Choo you have to look out for. I mean, the guy's had an on and off year. He's another lefty bat, though. If he gets a hold of it, he's going to be taking it deep to right
Isn't
field.
Mitch Moreland a lefty, too? So look at this. It's lefty stack line. The Yankees are in trouble. They really are.
I kind of want Texas over Houston because of the way the Yankees have played versus the Astros, where the Astros will continually ride up the score versus them.
That is true, too, because if we play Dallas Keuchel, we're going to get one hit, and it's probably going to be an infield single. So the Yankees have no chance against the Astros in a one-game playoff.
Yeah, I mean, this race, though, it's going to be fun the next couple weeks. It's going to be really close.
Who do you got, though? I got Texas.
I'm going with Texas. I just see Houston dying out at this point. They've kind of lost it. We're seeing a young team. We're seeing what usually happens with a young team come playoff time. I mean, they're going to make the playoffs, though. The Angels aren't catching up. The Angels slowly have gassed out to where it's kind of nerve-wracking because it's upsetting because I'm a big fan of baseball player Mike Trout, the MVP from last year, and to see what's going on with this team and that he has to be here over the next couple years.
Let's just hope they win the division so they don't have to play the Yankees in the wild card game.
Yeah, we just gotta hope, Armand. Hope the Astros don't play us.
Don't want to see Dallas Keuchel in one game. Not.
We just told you guys about the AL and NL West previews for the playoffs. Next week, we're going to be covering the AL Central, NL Central. So we'll be getting into the Cardinals, the Cubs. We're getting into the Minnesota Twins and the Kansas City Royals and their playoff races. It's going to be going hot down the stretch. When we come back, we'll be going over Monday Night Football, guys. But please listen to these commercials, and we will be right back.
WICR presents